can we quickly talk about each way Albo for a second here? Because Liz declares a climate emergency, but sits down with Andrew Clennell and says 45 was too ambitious, doesn't correct when is it 2050, and I think this is going to be a problem for the bloke because the left aren't going to be. If they thought this was going to be their Trojan horse, he wants to be small target all the way. But good luck being small target on climate in this media environment.
This was just a beautiful move. Like you say, we've gone from being an emergency to all of a sudden just scaling back targets, scaling back the amount of time and how much and in so long. It's absolutely hilarious. Yeah. All of a sudden, not such an emergency, and they've had to expose themselves for the frauds that they are. They've realised they've paid far too hard, far too fast to the left, and now they're coming back with their legs between their tails.
Because the thing is, Jim, it's not about do Australians believe in climate change or not. Australians do. Right? But what the conversation is what price are you willing to pay to deal with it? Now, in a first world economy, with all the different issues that we have, how much are you willing to spend? Now, there was a report that the Channel 9 newspapers had out there that it was apparently going to cost, and this was going off 10-year-old numbers, $37 billion per year for the private sector to eventually get to where the lefties would like us to go. But Albo has been exposed yet again, and you called him out about the bushfires. It's each way Albo. Say one thing on Monday, do the opposite on Tuesday, hope nobody notices, or everyone's dumb enough not to notice. Well, we do notice.
Well, we do notice, and what disappointed me more than anything else was, one should accept the hypocrisy, but I was disappointed that Richard Marles actually came out and played the game of let's not politicise the fires. Then he made personal attacks on the Prime Minister, and I was very disappointed because I've always held him in relatively high regard. But what annoys me about climate change, to a very great degree, is the fact that, regardless of whether you believe it or not, it does nothing to assist us in the fire emergency nor in the rebuild. So let's suppose we're going to do something like getting rid of coal by 2050 or going to 45% less emissions. Well, hang on. Let's go down and talk to the people at Cobargo about it. Let's ask them what they think. Let's ask the people who are depending on the Veezy mill down at Tumut or the chip mill down at Eden for a job, and let's see how they vote when they can express their view on the subject. It is totally inappropriate and it's fundamentally political.
Well, and that's the whole point, right? Which is that, Liz, the left, I mean, look, they are very good at it. Now, I'm sure they learnt from our team at one point, but still, they're very good at this now, where they triangulate things and they back you into a corner, right? Where to have this conversation about the cost of action, how much versus how much, is denialism. It's not denialism. It's a conversation about, and as I've said three times in the show, and it'll piss more people off than it impresses, about my position on climate change, but the reality is that there's only so much a country of 25 million people can do, so what are you willing to do? But the left tries to box you in that to have that conversation is denialism. It's not.
No, well, facts offend them, as we know. The PM came out just the other week saying we could shut down every power generator to keep these emissions-crazy people happy. Every single power generator in the country, and in 9 days, China would make up for those.
Because that's the thing. I mean, the reality is the deal is till 2030. All right? The table is set. Remember, it was Kyoto to 2020, and now it's to 2030, okay? And China can do whatever the heck it wants till 2030. That's why it's not denialism. That's just what's happened. If you want to protest, if you've really got your haunches up, why don't you strap on a pair and go and protest at the local Chinese embassy? See how you go there, because they're the ones that are actually going to be making the problems. But I don't imagine that'll be happening anytime soon. Instead, quick, get to your nearest town hall and be cheered on by a mayor. Finally on this, and I know we've done the whole thing for the hour, but we will spread out to other things tomorrow when Richo's here. We'll do sports grants with him. Don't worry, we're not ignoring. We'll get to that. I just want to deal with fires.
Fair enough.
Bantonomics. This is Adam Bant from the Greens who says this. Imagine a big red button, you press it, you'll immediately stop global warming. It also puts some billionaires out of business, and you must find decent, well-paying jobs for a few fellow citizens, just tens of thousands. Would you press it? It exists. It's called Quit Coal. Does this idiot understand, Jim, apart from anything else, right, that coal, when you dig it out of the ground, you pay tax on it? When you pay tax on it and mining royalties, that goes into state budgets. In New South Wales, it's about $1.9 billion. That would mean you can't have hospitals, you can't have police, you can't have free education, all the rest of it, unless you have a revenue source. And they don't have an alternative revenue source.
No, they don't. They say that we're all going to get jobs making wind turbines or something like that. But that's not going to work. That will not work. And what they haven't really addressed in any detail at all, and what they refuse to address, is the fact that this doesn't impact people who are in the parliament, this doesn't impact people who have got good jobs, or it normally impacts the people who are trying to make a living down the south coast, who are living, who have a sports shop in some smaller town that make their money 3 months of the year. And if they're going to come out and do it, as Richard Di Natale did this morning, came out very, very strongly on the ABC, of course, and the ABC gave him every opportunity to say some of the strangest things I've ever heard, as well as the interviewer offering his view that those that wanted to reduce hazard reduction were right-wing extremists. Then I think there really is a problem.
I'm with you, mate.
I don't know why we take them seriously. Let's back off and let them live in their own world.
Well, I agree. And if there was a climate revolution, there would have been more than a 1-point increase for them in the news poll. Gang, I think we've just all learnt why we have a 2-hour show on every other night of the week, because we're out of time now. Liz Storer, thank you very much. I don't even have time for bold predictions. This hosting TV thing, I'll get back into it. I've been a bit rusty. Thank you for being here. Jim, we love you, mate. We'll see you again very soon.